I'm Shavaun Scott, and I've been a psychotherapist for over 30 years. On this channel, I respond to viewer questions on everything related to psychology and relationships. If you enjoy this video, please like it and feel free to subscribe to my channel. Today, I'm responding to the viewer asking for tips on recovering after a romantic breakup. How do I get over a broken heart? This can be a big hurdle for people, and they're widely differing experiences at the end of a relationship. Now, if both parties are in agreement that a relationship has run its course, let's say they agree they've grown apart and they no longer want the same goals, there's a mutuality. And even though there's often sadness, it's not devastating because both people were emotionally prepared and are on the same page. But it often doesn't work that way, particularly if only one partner wants out of the relationship, if there's been no warning in advance, or if there's been a breach of trust like infidelity. In those cases, the person left behind may be devastated. The person who's been rejected often describes an extreme longing for their ex-partner. They may be pursuing them, begging them to come back, or behaving in desperate ways that are out of character. Sometimes they descend into self-criticism, self-blame, and begin to view themselves through a very distorted lens. They see themselves as flawed. They may believe they'll never be happy again. Some even become suicidal. Now, if you know someone experiencing this, put them in touch with the National 988 Mental Health Crisis Line, where they can also be given local referrals. Now, there are many variables because it's easy to get over the end of a 3-month relationship compared to a 30-year marriage where there's shared children and a family and a home life. Losing a long-term relationship partner can be completely destabilizing, and it takes a lot of time and effort to recover and rebuild a new life. But for some people, even the loss of a short-term relationship can come with big emotions and extreme behavior. Often, this is because it means losing a dream about the future. So the grief isn't really about what was, but it's more about a fantasy that was hoped for. This process has everything to do with the way our nervous systems are wired for attachment, and they're powerful neurochemicals behind romantic love. And these are driven by two systems in the brain, our reward system and our bonding system. Now, our reward system is driven by the neurochemical dopamine, which is involved in anticipation, motivation, and pleasure seeking. The dopamine system is the primary system behind all addiction, and it's one part of what fuels romantic attachment. Dopamine can lead us to behave in desperate ways that are uncharacteristic of our typical behavior. It drives us to seek and to pursue. Now, the other system is the bonding system, which is driven by oxytocin and endogenous opioids. These neurochemicals cause us to feel soothed and wonderful when we're attached to a new partner. They bring feelings of comfort, and separation from our partner is intensely painful, and we can actually have withdrawal symptoms when separated. Now, all this happens beneath our conscious awareness. These systems function to keep us procreating. They don't care if someone is right for us or if a relationship is going to lead to long-term happiness. It's all very primitive but powerful and drives a lot of human behavior. Remember the song Addicted to Love? Most of us could relate to it. When coping with the loss of a romantic relationship, a lot of the recommendations we give are things that we also recommend for addiction treatment. Let me give you some basic tips. Recovery after a breakup takes time and it takes action. And even though these actions are sometimes internal, they're important. They're things we do with our thoughts as well as changes we make in our behavior. Now, the first is self-soothing. People are hurting and feeling very raw. And self-soothing activities are any things we can do that help us feel calm. Some ideas are loving our animals. If we're lucky enough to have a cat or a dog, we hug them, we cuddle, we get that oxytocin from them. We can form deep bonds with our pets who love us unconditionally. Another soothing activity is getting outside in nature, seeking out the beauty of the natural world. Some find music soothing, and some people enjoy cooking or going out for a meal with a friend, having a friend over for dinner. I tell people to think of the word comfort, and whatever comes to mind, do more of that. Now, I do have a caution. Don't turn to drugs and alcohol, even though I know it's tempting. It brings on this sense of numbness, which can be soothing, at least temporarily. But the problem is, it messes with our neurochemistry and ultimately will make us feel worse the next day. And it doesn't really solve the problem or teach us any new skills. Now, the next suggestion is a distraction. It helps your mind shift gears by intentionally seeking out other activities that change focus. This could be something like reading a compelling book, watching a lighthearted movie, watching sports on TV, playing sports, or taking a class to learn something new. Even if you don't feel like doing these things, do it anyway and experiment with different things and see what works best for you. Distraction definitely helps diminish craving. Now, the third suggestion, if possible, is to cut contact during the recovery phase with your ex. Don't give in to the temptation to stalk them on social media. It will only intensify the craving and the pain. It's probably best to block them, at least for a time. And it doesn't mean you'll never have contact again, but give yourself a break. Stalking keeps your mind centered on your ex-partner and keeps highlighting your loss. Don't go there. This takes intention, but it will help you feel better to go in other directions. Losing a loved one means we're going through a grief process, and we've all heard about the stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And we know now that these stages are not linear and not all people experience all of them, and certainly not in the same way. And it's important that we differentiate grief from rumination. Grief is inevitable. Rumination is not, and rumination makes us worse. Rumination is an obsessive focus on the negative distortions, self-criticism, and hopelessness that leads us into a downward spiral of depression. When we catch ourselves ruminating, we need to practice shifting our focus back to hopeful thoughts and maintain the dual reality of feeling the sadness of grief, but holding hope for the future. Now, this doesn't come naturally to many of us, and often we need help learning to do this. It's part of mindfulness. And I want to give a caution about anger. Even though anger is normal and sometimes revenge fantasies are part of it, if a person is really going into rage and really ruminating on revenge and having impulses to take some kind of vengeful action, I think it's really important to get professional help. This can go very ugly very quickly, and we don't want to see that happen. Finally, one of the most important things I discuss with clients is the need for a balanced life. It really pulls all these ideas together. And let me give you a little metaphor. I ask people to hold up 10 fingers of both hands and imagine that they're supporting a beautiful crystal bowl with their fingers. This bowl represents your life. You don't want it to fall and crash. Each finger represents an important area of support in the categories of emotional health, physical health, and social well-being. And when we have a well-supported life, we're best equipped to handle adversity and loss. I have people identify an activity that's represented by each finger in each of those three categories. Under emotional health, we can list self-soothing and personal growth activities, maybe reading some self-help books, going to a support group, or talking to a therapist. Under physical health, we can list things like getting enough sleep, eating healthy, taking care of ourselves, and exercising. Under social support, we can list things like making plans with several different friends and engaging in activities we enjoy, having lunch or dinner together, playing sports, going dancing. I have people write down each activity and make a specific plan. Don't lay in bed, drink, and spiral down into a deep depression. Now, the concept of the bowl, if you only have one finger supporting your life and that's been your partner, when that person is gone, everything crashes and breaks. It's my belief that every relationship offers an opportunity to gain skills and learn about ourselves. We grow from every experience. There's never a failure in a relationship if we focus on what did this relationship teach me and how can I grow from here on? If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like it and subscribe to my channel. And please send me questions for future videos on anything related to psychology or relationships.